Look, training robots in the real world, it's incredibly slow. It's insanely expensive, and honestly, it constantly wears out the actual hardware. Welcome to this Integratekh Explainer. Here at Integratekh, we take complex new findings from the tech world and just make them simple, clear, and engaging. I am so incredibly excited you're here today. So, to get around these crazy physical limits, researchers turned to a pretty brilliant idea: virtual reality simulators. Think of a simulator like a hyper-detailed video game environment, but it's built specifically for a robot's brain. In this simulated world, training is 100% safe, and the data? Limitless. A robot can try to grab a cup 1,000,000 times, drop it 1,000,000 times, and crash headfirst into a virtual wall. And the result? Not a single real cup gets shattered. There's absolutely zero hardware damage. It's the ultimate playground. Okay, let's dive into this, because there's a huge catch. Researchers quickly ran into a major roadblock. A robot might perform absolutely flawlessly in the computer simulation, right? It looks like a total genius. But the second you take that perfectly trained virtual brain and put it into a physical metal and plastic robot in the real world, it often just completely fails. It clumsily knocks things over, its movements are super jerky, or it just freezes up entirely. So what's going on here? Why does this happen? Well, the answer comes down to what researchers call the reality gap. You see, simulations are fundamentally clean. They're built on perfect math, they're often frictionless, gravity never fluctuates, and the environment is totally predictable. But the real world is incredibly messy. You've got unexpected friction on different floor surfaces. You've got sensor noise, meaning a robot's camera might literally just get blinded by a sudden glare from the sun or confused by a shadow. Or you have dynamic obstacles, like people just walking around unpredictably. The simulation is simply way too perfect to actually prepare the robot for reality. So the absolute crucial point here is figuring out how to cross this gap. This massive challenge is known in the industry as sim-to-real transfer, and it's exactly what it sounds like. It's the incredibly complex process of taking a robot's artificial intelligence, which was trained entirely in a virtual world, and successfully deploying it into a physical robot body, so it actually works in our everyday world. And let me tell you, researchers are absolutely obsessed with solving this, because if they can easily transfer this virtual knowledge into physical action, the speed of robotic advancement is going to explode, like overnight. To really picture this ultimate goal, imagine a simulation of a white robot interacting with a human in a virtual hallway. Then, imagine that exact same scenario mapped directly to its real-world counterpart. The hallway layout is identical. The robot is identical. The task of handing something over, exactly the same. The real challenge is making sure the robot's brain doesn't even realize it's just changed dimensions from the computer screen to the physical hallway. To fix this messy reality gap, researchers aren't just crossing their fingers. They're taking action with a powerful new method called physics-aware sim-to-real transfer. Instead of just hoping the virtual training magically works out, they're actively changing the simulator itself. They want to stop the robots from getting completely confused by real-world physics. So to do this, they're literally forcing the simulation to get messy and unpredictable, just like real life. Think of it kind of like this. Imagine you're playing a perfectly clear, easy racing video game on your couch. You're crushing it. But then you suddenly have to drive a real physical car in a massive, blinding rainstorm. You'd probably crash, right? To prepare you, the video game actually needs to simulate the rain, the slippery roads, and the blurry vision beforehand. Researchers are doing exactly this for robots by injecting real-world variables into the simulation. They calibrate time steps so the virtual clock perfectly matches real time. They add realistic friction to virtual floors. They set actuator weight limits, which basically means they tell the simulation exactly how weak or strong the robot's physical motors actually are. And they artificially introduce sensor noise to mimic stuff like bad lighting. They also use this fascinating technique called domain randomization. It's a bit of a mouthful, but here's what it means. Researchers don't just use one single simulation. No way. They train the robot across millions of slightly varied realities. They tweak the lighting, they change the colors, and they adjust the gravity just a tiny bit. According to the research, they specifically keep these physical changes within a tight 10% limit of reality. So by surviving all these slightly different, completely randomized virtual worlds, the robot becomes highly adaptable to whatever random surprise the real world throws at it. And the result of all this wild virtual training? It's a massive breakthrough for technology. By using these physics-aware techniques, we're seeing instant real-world success. Robots can now be trained entirely inside a computer, over thousands and thousands of virtual hours, and then instantly dropped into the real world to work effectively right from day one. No breaking expensive physical parts, no dangerous accidents, and definitely no starting from scratch. To put this into perspective, let's talk numbers. 91%. According to recent research data, scientists achieved a staggering 91% reduction in trajectory error for complex tasks, like rolling objects around. That means the physical robot's real-world movements matched its perfect virtual movements almost exactly. And the craziest part? They achieved this just by carefully tuning the physics in the simulation to match reality. That is an absolutely massive improvement in accuracy. So let's look ahead. What does this mean for us? Well, the real-world impact is huge. First off, it means much safer manufacturing. Robots can learn to handle delicate or dangerous factory tasks safely in a simulation long before they ever touch a real assembly line. Second, it brings us way closer to actual household helper robots. Since every home is a messy, dynamic environment, robots trained in millions of randomized virtual homes will actually be ready to navigate your real living room. And third, deep space exploration. We obviously can't practice driving a rover on Mars easily, but we can simulate the Martian physics perfectly, making sure that robot is ready to roll the exact second it lands on another planet. This technology is moving so incredibly fast, and it is absolutely going to change how we interact with machines forever. So I want to leave you with a provocative thought to chew on. Think about your daily routine, your chores, or even your workplace. Where would you want a highly capable sim-trained robot to step in and help out in your daily life? Take a quick moment right now and drop your ideas down in the comments below. I'd genuinely love to read what you guys come up with. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. If you found this breakdown helpful and enjoyed getting a peek into the future of robotics, please hit that like button. And most importantly, make sure you subscribe to the Integratekh YouTube channel. We share new findings from the tech world in a way that's simple, clear, and hopefully pretty fun. And you definitely won't want to miss our next explainer. Stay curious, keep learning, and I'll see you next time.